Due to the carnivore diet, I've lost and kept off approximately 100 pounds. I would go to the store to try to buy clothes, and I couldn't find anything that would fit me. It was something that I enjoyed, just eating big Thanksgiving meals every day. Here I'm like, hey man, I'm 37 years old. I've got high blood pressure. I have to be hooked to a machine every night. Within a month, I think I had lost 20 pounds or 25 pounds. The new problem that I had is I couldn't wear my clothes because I had lost so much weight. Dude, what happened to you? Where are you? There's like a third of you's missing. You know, what's the secret sauce? I think the way that you feel when you wake up and the way you feel through the day is a good indicator of your health. I feel like I could run through a brick wall if I wanted to, and nothing can tell me otherwise.
Anyway, let's get started. So anyway, welcome. We've got Joseph with us today. He's going to share a success story. So Joseph, I guess just start out, just give us a little bit of your background, if you don't mind.
Basically, I'm 39 years old. I'm married. Due to the carnivore diet, I've lost and kept off approximately 100 pounds.
Wow.
I fluctuate between 98 to 100 pounds, depending on how much steak I eat at night.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Typically, I'll fast 16 hours a day. Some days I fast 24 hours. The past few days, I've been fasting 24 hours, having one meal, a couple ribeyes. It's been amazing. I don't see me ever going back to whatever the normal eating style is.
Yeah, you're okay with being weird and abnormal if it keeps you healthy, right?
That's fine. But I hear it all day.
Yeah, the normal is not very good. The average and the normal is actually, I personally think the average diet is an eating disorder, quite honestly. They joke about us being eating disorder, but I think the average person has eaten all that garbage. So 100 pounds, that's obviously a lot of weight. That's impressive, particularly if you kept it off for quite a while, which is the other thing people will say. You can't keep it off because it's not sustainable, but apparently it is in your case. But what are the things you had tried over the years? Because probably this was, I'm guessing it wasn't your first attempt to lose weight. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what have you tried over the years?
It was not my first rodeo with weight loss. I had tried counting calories. I had an app. My buddy had lost maybe 70 pounds counting calories and doing macros. And I'll tell you, man, brother, I love to eat, and I love to eat good food. And I would hit my calorie, my window, my threshold within the first meal, and then I would just be hungry. And then I would want to eat more, and then I would eat more calories than what I needed, or to be in that deficit. I think that's about it. But the truth is, I was at a breaking point in my life. I had all these medical conditions, high blood pressure. I was on a CPAP machine. I would go to the store to try to buy clothes, and I couldn't find anything that would fit me. And if I found a 2 extra large shirt that I liked, that I thought was cool, I would buy it and then bring it home, and I realized that I couldn't get into a size 2X shirt. And that was a breaking point for me, on top of all my health issues. So it was messing with my ego a little bit.
So you went from double extra large to maybe triple or quadruple extra large, and you couldn't get in those things. Let me go back to, you said you were calorie counting and you were always hungry, because I suspect you're probably eating less overall calories now on carnivore perhaps than you would maybe when you're 300 extra pounds. But what were the type of foods you were consuming that left you still hungry, even though
complex carbs, potatoes, a bunch of junk, a bunch of processed junk, traditional American diet.
Okay.
Pretty much having potatoes with my pork chop and corn and maybe a big salad and all that jazz. And I just wanted more.
Okay. But I mean, when you say junk, most people wouldn't consider corn and salad junk. What do you mean by junk?
To me, it didn't satiate me. I just wanted more and more of it.
Okay. So you're saying
it was not filling. Okay. It was not filling to me, and I always wanted more of it. If I eat, like last night, I had a ribeye steak and 2 eggs, and I ate it, and then I moved on, and I didn't think about food.
Okay. So you're finding the food on carnivore is better at satiety in your experience. Is that a fair statement?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, you're not alone on that. I think a lot of people find that. There's science that shows that meat actually stimulates a so-called GLP-1 incretin hormone to provide some satiety on there. So that's something I've seen over and over again. So the conditions you had, you'd mentioned, obviously you're 100 pounds overweight. You got hypertension. I think you mentioned, I saw reflux somewhere, a couple of things.
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux. Were you treated under the care of a physician for any of these conditions at any point?
Yes. So I was prescribed Prilosec. I'm sure you're familiar with that,
Sure, yeah.
to contain my acid reflux.
Right.
I think I had to take it maybe once to twice a day, but it seemed like it fixed the indigestion, but it was like making a deal with a gypsy that if I didn't take it, then it would come back even worse.
Yeah.
So it just treated the symptom. It never actually fixed anything.
It didn't fix the reflux. It just masked the acid, basically. You're still refluxing, but the acid level is lower. That's how they work, the proton pump inhibitors. And okay, so the doctor, at any point did the doctor like suggest you going on a carnivore diet? I'm sure he didn't, or any diet. I don't know, maybe any diet for that matter.
Yeah. They wanted me to see a dietitian to clean it up.
Okay. Did you ever go or no?
I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
I think also that part of my problem is eating was a comfort to me. It was something that I enjoyed, just eating big Thanksgiving meals every day. It become a lifestyle to just eat a lot.
Yeah, I get it. I've been there, done that, and I can still do it. I can still put it down. But so I think also, did it have an impact on your brain, on your mental health? Was any of this weighing on you that way?
Oh yeah. I'd mentioned I tried to go buy a 2 extra large shirt and I couldn't squeeze into it. And when you have to look in the mirror and you wake up every day, the depression is real. You're going, why am I like this? Why am I'm looking at my own mortality here. I'm like, hey man, I'm 37 years old. I've got high blood pressure. I have to be hooked to a machine every night when I go to bed to control my breathing. I'm taking pills for acid reflux. The doctor's getting ready to prescribe blood pressure medicine. And I'm looking at guys that are 20 years older than me, drop dead left and right where I work. And I said, man, that's not the future for me. And they were getting ready to put me on blood pressure medicine, but surprisingly enough, my blood pressure came down. As of course, once I cut out all that processed food and all that garbage, I think my last blood pressure was 120/67. Okay. And the nurse, who was a younger lady who probably looked like she weighed 120 pounds, she said, "How is your blood pressure better than mine?"
Yeah. Awesome. So let me ask you, so you're at this point, you're in your mid 30s, obese, got all depressed, reflux, hypertension. I'm sure, I think you mentioned you had chronic joint pain at some point as well. How did you decide, look, I'm going to go carnivore? Or how did that evolve? Where did that come from?
I had a friend who was a CrossFitter, and he had mentioned it. He knew that I like to eat meat, and he had lost, I think, 15 or 20. He was not a very big guy. He was maybe 215 pounds. He said he wanted to get shredded. And I was like, so he had done the carnivore diet. And then I think in a period of 2 months, he dropped all the weight and he was just ripped. And he was like, brother, this is like a cheat code. And I was like, he's crazy. Just eat meat. And I had seen you on Joe Rogan, and I had seen another guy, a Russian fellow, the guy who brought kettlebells to America.
Pavel Tsatsouline, yeah.
Yeah. And he had mentioned that he had a meat-heavy diet, and that certain Russian scientists, some of them believe that vegetables were toxic. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is pure sanity. Everyone knows you have to eat wheat bread and potatoes, and that's the food pyramid, and we need to follow that because that's what they tell us to do. But when I decided to commit, within a month, I think I had lost 20 pounds or 25 pounds in a month or 6 weeks.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. I want to just point out something, because you said I enjoyed a lot of meat. I used to eat meat all the time, and you were obese. And most people would say, well, aha, look at that. The meat is causing it, right? That's what we typically see. This is I think the crux of this meat is bad for you. But it's what happens when you only eat meat. Is meat the bad guy? So go ahead and continue. So you lost 20 pounds, and so what starts happening?
So I had lost, and then here back to my ego and my self-confidence, is I had lost those 25 pounds, and I realized I could go to my closet and I could wear my clothes again. And then my wife said, "Oh, hey, look at you, studly man. Ha." And so I decided to just keep the ball rolling. And then the pounds just kept coming off. And then I realized that the new problem that I had is I couldn't wear my clothes because I had lost so much weight. So I've had to buy basically 2 new wardrobes since I've started this.
That's one of the downsides. Sometimes your clothing expense goes up because you can buy a bunch of new clothes for some people. Yeah.
Now I just go to the thrift store. I think my whole get up is
I can't believe, look at you. You're lean, man. There's no extra 100 pounds on you. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah.
But I had a knee surgery maybe 7 years ago. I had a torn meniscus pretty bad. And I had dealt with pain from that. It just hurt. But now, voila, it's gone.
No knee pain. Awesome.
No knee pain.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing. You think about, what is it? Is it the food? Is it the excess body weight? Is it a combination of both? It's something that, as an orthopedic surgeon, I was always taught that it's just the extra poundage. The poundage is providing the pressure across the joint. But the reality is that's some of the equation. A larger part of the equation is just the inflammatory nature of adipose tissue, and then also the food we're consuming. Both those things combined. So when you resolve that, let me talk about sleep apnea, because are you still hooked up to the CPAP machine, or did that go away too?
No, sir. No, sir. We have thrown that into the bottom of a dark hole, and we're not going back. I had started realizing I did need it. I needed it desperately. The CPAP machine, I was snoring. I was having terrible dreams that I was drowning, that I correlated to, hey, you're suffocating pretty much. And then it got to the point to where I just would take it off in the middle of the night. And then one night, after maybe I had lost 70 pounds, I said, I'm just not going to use this. I'm just not going to use it. And then slept like a baby. And then I asked my wife, I said, yeah, was I snoring all night? Was I snoring? She was no snoring.
I bet your wife's happier, not sleeping next to a bear,
Very
right?
happy.
You know?
Yeah.
What about the reflux go away as well?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it did. And one thing I will say is about once a week, I will treat myself to a jalapeno or 2 that I'll grill, or sometimes I'll grill it in with my steak, and I can eat that sucker raw, and no acid reflux, none whatsoever.
I guess that's good if you like jalapenos. And that's
yeah. So that's my cheat. That's my cheat meal. Is sometimes I'll sneak in a jalapeno, or maybe some nuts, so a good walnut or something like that.
But you'd mentioned bummed out, depressed about being in your health condition that you were in. How long did that take to turn around? For when did your mood start to elevate? How long did you notice that occurring?
I would say, like I said, probably 4 to 6 weeks once I noticed results, pretty much. Once I realized that we were not spiraling down into more bleakness. Once I realized that I was pulling back on the controls of my life, and hey, I'm looking better, I'm feeling better, I'm thinking better, I can wear normal person's clothes. All these things started snowballing into the right direction.
And you said, you mentioned you're on your lunch break at work out there in Virginia. Obviously, your coworkers they'd have been blind to miss 100-pound weight loss. So how was that received?
So very well. It was noticeable. People were asking me if I was taking Ozempic or what I was doing. Weight Watchers. They wanted to put whatever they wanted. They were like, how are you doing this? They were like, what's the secret sauce? People started calling me.
Witchcraft and magic or something, right?
What is your sorcery? And I would bump into people at the grocery store, people I went to high school with maybe, or family members I hadn't seen. They're like, dude, what happened to you? Where are you? There's a third of you's missing. What's the secret sauce? I eat meat. That's it. There is no secret sauce. I eat eggs, bacon, beef. That's about it. That's the secret.
Did you believe, I know you said you like to meat, but prior to this, in your 20s, I've been eating my whole life. I love meat. I think it's great. But was there ever a point where you're like, this is probably going to kill me, or this is bad for me? Were you ever thinking that at some point while you're eating it?
No.
So you never fell into the brainwash. Because if you listen, the propaganda out there is that meat is going to kill you, give you cancer, heart disease, make you fat, give you diabetes, cow farts are going to boil the ocean, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you never took much attention to that stuff.
Not really, but see, the evidence was, I was always told if you eat steaks, your blood pressure rises. You eat ground beef, you have 35 pounds of spoiled ground beef rotting in your colon. I'd heard those things, and then, when I tried it, I wanted to commit to a month. And then once I started seeing the positive effects of it, I was like, I think the way that you feel when you wake up and the way you feel through the day is a good indicator of your health. And I've never felt better.
Good for you. Yeah. And I was going to say, it's almost like you got a do-over. You just got like the reset button. You kind of took off all that garbage illness that was on you, and now you're back to normal.
I literally feel like I've been given a second opportunity in my life. Yeah, that now I can be the man that I want to be, that I can do the things, I can be active, I can be mobile, I can have those experiences if I want to go for a long white hike with my friends. I'm not getting ready to die, falling off the mountain. My stamina has improved. It's a 360 win.
Did you ever go back to the doctor that was seeing you, putting you on the proton pump inhibitors and blood pressure meds and all that stuff?
Yeah.
After you'd had all the success, you'd been back?
Yeah.
And how was that received?
They told me they asked me what diet I was on. I told them I was on a ketogenic based diet. And obviously I didn't want to hear the establishment's response. So I said, hey, I'm on a keto diet. And they said, all your markers, all your blood tests, you're not deficient in anything. Keep it up.
Good. Okay, that's good. At least they didn't try to discourage you. One thing I found is that people, when their doctor discourages them, their success goes down significantly when they don't have support. And it sounds like your wife, when she started seeing you looking better, was on board. Is she pretty much on board with the deal?
Yeah, maybe not so much at first, but when she sees the change, she saw the change. She just knows he's going to do this. Just let him do it. He's going to eat his meat. Let him eat his meat.
Mm-hmm. Okay. She hasn't jumped on yet, though. It doesn't sound like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. No. Was she struggling with any health issues? Or is she pretty healthy?
She's pretty healthy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Was not like me.
Okay. So now you got healthier, clearly. 100 pounds, all the different maladies gone. How do you feel it's affected your overall ability to like work and perform and think and cognition, and any benefits in that regard?
It's night and day, Dr. Shawn. It's night and day. I probably have 300% more focus on what I need to accomplish. I'm not muddled with that negative emotion constantly hounding me in the back of my mind. I have more energy. I feel like I've been optimized, and I feel like I can. And then once you lose 100 pounds, you get the confidence. Say, hey, I had what it take to lose 100 pounds. I think I can do anything. Mm-hmm. So the confidence in all walks of life, mentally, physically, spiritually, everything, it's night and day.
Yeah, nothing breeds success like success. It's you develop that sort of attitude, and you, like you said, the self-confidence, which is important. Let me ask you negatives, because were there any negatives that you experienced on the diet, either transitioning to or even till this day?
Negatives. I think I was a complete metabolic disaster due to just all the donuts, bread, processed food that I ate. It took probably, I want to say 7 days to really get deep into ketosis, 6 to 7. And when it hit me like a ton of bricks, I was sweating, I was shaky, I was weak, I was dizzy. I remember I spent a whole Sunday laying on the couch. And I told my wife, I said, hey, if I tell you to call the ambulance, you need to do it. That's how bad I felt. But then I came right out of it. And I had to manage my fat intake. I don't think I was initially getting enough fat. And so maybe when my body was switching over, I don't know if I was eating enough fat. It took me a while to dial it in. Other negatives, obviously, the first few weeks, maybe the crapping like a goose. That was a downside. I think ultimate downside, the only negative one that I have felt is sometimes when I do intense workouts, or if I go, I like to longboard If I go on a long ride on my longboard, I feel as if my glycogen runs out quickly. And because I'm not currently cycling in fruit or honey or anything like that before my workouts, I don't know if my body has a quick reserve to dive into. That has been the only downside really currently.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. And I can tell you as an athlete who I don't add in fruit or honey or any of those types of things, but I just find it took me a while to adapt to it. So it takes a lot of time to do it. And that's the other thing, you got to eat enough. And that's something.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, like I said, Dr. Shawn, I fast a lot.
Yeah.
So doing intense workouts on a fat, come on, dude. Put A in.
And you got to put the fuel in the tank if it's otherwise it's going to run out regardless. So as far as you've obviously lost the weight, you feel great, you're doing well. Has it, I don't know, when you were 100 pounds overweight, what was your outlook like versus what do you think your life is going to be? Maybe you're going to die early. I don't know if your ambition is tabled. Has it changed your sort of focus?
Yeah, it has. Like I said, I feel like with the confidence of the weight loss and the confidence that I have, just how I look these days, how I feel, the mental clarity, I feel like I could do anything. I feel like I could run through a brick wall if I wanted to, and nothing can tell me otherwise. And that's been the big thing. It's just the supreme confidence that it's given me. And I have to attribute that to this diet. I think for me, I was a metabolic wreck. I think I just ate crap food for 3 decades. It took me a while to slip into ketosis, but now, and to lose this. And now that I'm here, I don't want to get off the train. I just feel too good. And my hair and my beard just grow. Everything's so lush.
That's one of the things I noticed. It seems like I trim my toes and fingernails a lot more than I used to because they grow so damn fast now. That's one.
It almost seems I have to clip my nails every week. I guess the collagen, I don't know what it is, but something, it's just.
That's quality protein, I think. And let me ask you, so what do you eat? What does a day or week look like for you now these days?
I fast for 16 hours and I eat in an 8-hour eating window. So I'll eat breakfast at 12. And then when I get home, maybe about 7 o'clock is when I'll eat again. Through the week here lately, I've just been eating 1 meal a day. But if I do eat breakfast or my breakfast at lunch, it's typically, I could probably eat 5 to 7 eggs, soft boiled or fried, sausage patties, maybe half a pack of sugar-free, nitrate-free bacon. And that'll be my breakfast. And then for dinner, it's usually very fatty ground beef. I could possibly eat a pound of it. Ground bison, pork chops, fatty pork chops. I'll go through the case and I'll look at the one with the biggest rim of fat on it. If I do eat chicken, now this is something maybe you can comment on, and I think the Russian fellow, the kettlebell guy, commented on this.
Chicken is a nervous bird or something.
Yeah, chicken is a weak bird. Yeah. When I eat chicken, I could eat an entire chicken and wake up the next day and I will not feel as peppy as if I eat a big steak or a big ground bison or something. I have noticed that when I eat chicken, I have to eat bacon with it. I have to get extra fat. Okay. I could eat 25 chicken wings on the grill and I would feel full, but I wouldn't have that energy level the next day. So for me, I have to add bacon.
Okay.
When I eat chicken.
Okay. And so it sounds like you've gotten healthy. You've lost all this weight. You've had all these wonderful health improvements. And that was just eating grocery store meats, nothing special, not a bunch of organ meats, not a bunch of grass finished regenerative meat, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. So I did buy, I think we bought a quarter cow or a half cow, and it was a grass-fed, grass-finished. I ate all that. Organ meat, I will eat organ meat. I'm huge on beef liver. I try to eat that about once every 2 weeks. And I have a couple of them left in my freezer, still thin sliced. I found the perfect way to cook it too. I soak it in heavy whipping cream overnight. And then you can bread it with pork crumbs, pork rind crumbs. and then fried in bacon grease.
Yeah, so make like a little cutlet, like a veal cutlet or something like that. Yeah, I get it. And you soak it in there to remove the coppery, irony taste out of that. I've seen that done from time to time. Okay, so you're, like I said you used to be a guy that loved to eat Thanksgiving full, stuff yourself. Is that, you don't need that anymore, or you feel like it's not something I need to worry about anymore?
I don't know if it's my stomach shrunk or what. No, I don't feel the need to do. I eat till I'm full. If I eat my steak and I'm still hungry, then maybe I'll eat the leftovers of my wife's steak. And then that should fill me up.
Okay. Have you had a lot of criticism levied your way because of this diet? Has anybody been critical of you, or what? How's
Yeah,
that?
they said, yeah, I've been told by, I don't want to disparage the community, the vegan community at all, but I've been told that it was unethical and that I was going to be riddled with cancer within just a few years. The things and meanwhile, they're sitting there eating an Impossible Burger with 300 ingredients in it.
So and these vegans are what, from online, or do you have them in your life?
They're in my life.
They're in your life. Okay. Gosh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm still waiting on the scurvy that I was told I was going to get seven and a half years ago. And that hasn't still not arrived yet, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see over time, but certainly you feel better. Let me ask you that, because let's just say theoretically your risk for heart disease is up 10, 20% or something like that, some number that somebody would quote. What are your thoughts around that?
I get a physical every year, and there's been no indication. I've only had 2 since I've started this diet, and there was no real changes in my good to bad ratios or what. There was no markers saying, oh, you're going to have a heart attack. Like, there was nothing there, so I'm not worried about it.
Very good. Okay. And like I said, I see some people, and that's generally the answer I receive. It's either I don't think that's going to be an issue, or even if it was, my quality of life is so much better that I would not want to go back to something else. So you're off all the medications you were on? You were only on, I think you were only on the PPI. That probably said.
I don't even hardly take an Advil. I don't take any medicines, dude. I don't want any medicine, weird shots. I don't do any of it. So
what about cost? Because some people will say, oh, it's too expensive. And it sounds like, from what you're describing, it sounds like it's too bad. What's been your experience about cost? Is it actually cheaper for you on this diet now?
So to me, it's as expensive as you would like it to be and as cheap as you want it to be. And going to Kroger and getting an 8-pound thing of fatty ground beef is not that much. I do splurge and get ribeye steaks quite a bit. But I don't have to have that. Eggs, the price of eggs has went up, but it's not a showstopper. I pay whatever, $3.99 or whatever for a dozen. Sausage, we do get some farm fresh sausage. It's expensive, but if you look at the Jimmy Dean sausage that's pre-made, if you look at it, there's no carbs or sugar or anything in that. So if you wanted to go, that's a cheap route. It's as cheap as you want it or as expensive as you want it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, like I said, I was going to say, you can do it very cheap. I get people that are critical because they see me eating steaks. I'm like, look, you don't have to do that. You can certainly do ground beef and sausage and eggs and pork chops and just like you're doing. And a lot of people can do extremely well with that. Any regrets? You should have done it earlier, I'd imagine, but any thoughts on that? Some people, I've seen people that have suffered for 3 or 4 decades with a medical condition and untold money and suffering and medical visits. And then it goes away in 2 months by changing it out. And some people are almost annoyed about or pissed off about that. Do you feel like you've been misled at some point?
To be honest, you put the words in my mouth. I wish I would have started sooner. There's just no, and I'll tell you another thing, back to one of your previous questions, is the confidence level, the feeling better. The thing about it is you got to lead by example. And then in the people in my lives who are extremely unhealthy, they've seen me and they go, man, I got to get me some of that. My middle brother, he is an obese fellow. He's a very large football player type guy, much like myself at one time. He saw me. I hadn't seen him in a long time. He saw me. He said, man, I got to try this. 30 pounds dropped already. And he just started it, I want to say, 2 months ago.
Good for him.
I like being that example. And that's another thing. That's another benefit. People seeing you walking the walk and they want to get on it. They can hate you, or they can say, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any kiddos? Any kids?
My first kid is on the way, and that's another funny thing. My son will be here in February, and I've been married for about 3 years or so now, and I lose 100 pounds now. My wife's pregnant. Yeah. Maybe there's something to say about
I've seen that. I've seen a lot of couples in particular that struggle with fertility. They go carnivore and boom, within a month or two, they're pregnant. So congratulations. And obviously the kiddo won't be eating processed garbage. Hopefully you keep them away from that stuff.
No.
I mean, I'm sure you will. So you've
learned no that. Soy. No soy for my boy.
No, not a soy boy. All right, awesome. I'll tell you what, Joe, anything else we left out? I know you're pressed for time. You're on your lunch break, so I want to keep this short. Anything else you want to share that we didn't get to touch on? I
think we basically covered it. I think it's just down. The proof's in the pudding. My numbers are good. My health is good. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I think give it 30 days. If you're struggling with a health issue, if you're struggling with obesity, give it 30 days. And then come back and talk to us, because you're going to notice a change. That's it.
Awesome, man.
I do have a question for you, Dr. Shawn.
Sure. Oh, of course, yeah.
I've noticed I monitor my ketone levels on those strips, and I noticed that it fluctuates quite a bit. Some days it's moderate, some days it's heavy. What is the process that cause it? If the longer you're in ketosis, the less...
Ketones can be helpful, particularly early on, to give you a little bit of feedback. But honestly, over time, particularly as you get more chronically adapted to utilizing ketones, because there's a concept of you produce them and you use them, and the ones you don't use, you'll waste. But as you get more efficient at using them, then it levels off a lot. So a lot of people that are chronically on ketogenic diets, which at the beginning when they would run high ketones, will sometimes see that diminishing. And so again, I don't think that's the metric you need to necessarily worry about. You worry about what's going on. Am I losing weight? Do I feel good? Those are the things that really, at the end of the day, are what we want to measure. And some of the, depending on how it's measured, blood, urine, breath, there's some variability in that. But even the guys that define nutritional ketosis, what happened there? Did I lose you?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. No, I had a screen malfunction. The guys that define nutritional ketosis initially said 0.5 millimolar was a threshold, and now they've backtracked and walked that back even lower because they've had a lot of experience with people this through chronic monitoring. So I wouldn't worry.
I didn't know. I didn't know how important the metric was. I had noticed that there was early on, it was like off the Richter ketones, but now it's just
you're using them. You're using them rather than wasting them. So I think that's the difference there. Anyway, Joseph, I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Hey, Dr. Shawn, I'll tell you, it's truly a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for your time.
Maybe we'll run into each other in real life at some day. Anyway, thanks.
I hope so.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.